Picture this. Two guys, same neighborhood, same block actually, both worked regular jobs, nothing fancy, no trust funds, no crypto jackpots, no rich uncle leaving them a fortune. Just two normal dudes pulling in roughly the same paycheck for about 30 years. Dave retires at 62, comfortably, no stress, sleeps in on Mondays, takes his wife on little trips whenever they feel like it, tinkers around the house because he wants to, not because he can't afford to call someone. Mike. Mike's 68, bagging groceries at the store down the street. Not for fun, not for something to do. Because he has to. His savings dried up way faster than he ever thought possible, and Social Security alone barely covers rent and meds. Same street, same paychecks, two completely different lives. Now here's the part that'll keep you up at night. The difference between Dave and Mike has nothing to do with how much they earned. It's something way more subtle. Something most people completely overlook until it's already too late. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is. And fair warning, it might change how you look at every single dollar you touch from this point forward. But first, let's talk about a number that almost nobody actually reaches. So here's what we're going to do. No fluff, no 5 easy hacks to get rich, none of that garbage. We're going to look at the real numbers behind retirement in America. The stuff financial influencers skip over because it doesn't make a good thumbnail. By the time we're done, you'll understand 3 things. Why having $1 million saved for retirement is still a massive deal even now. Why almost nobody actually gets there. And the one thing that separates the people who do from everyone else. Spoiler, it's not what the internet tells you. Now, real quick, when I say $1 million, I'm talking about retirement accounts. Your 401k, your IRA, your Roth, money that's actually sitting there waiting for you when the paychecks stop. I'm not counting your house, your car, your sneaker collection, none of that. Why? Because you can't pay your electric bill with a paid-off mortgage. You can't swipe home equity at the grocery store. We're talking about money you can actually touch, money that funds your life when you're done working. And yeah, some people have rental properties, side businesses, maybe gold bars in a safe somewhere. Good for them. But that's not most people. Most people's entire retirement lives inside 1 or 2 accounts. So that's what we're looking at. Clean and honest. Now, here's where it starts to get uncomfortable. Out of every 100 retired households in this country, how many do you think actually have $1 million or more in those accounts? 10, 15, 20, 3. 3 out of 100. 3.2% to be exact. And we're not even talking per person. That's per household. Meaning if you're married, both your accounts get combined. A couple sitting on $600,000 and $400,000 between them, they count as one. If you're single, it's just you against that number. This comes straight from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. Not some random blog, not a TikTok hot take. This is as legit as data gets. But that 3.2% doesn't really hit you until you see what the average American actually has saved. And trust me, you're not ready for that number. So let's look at what the typical American household actually has saved for retirement. Across all ages, young, old, everyone in between, the median retirement savings in this country is $87,000. Let that sit for a second. $87,000, that's the middle of the pack. Half of all households have less than that put away, half. Now, $87,000 might sound okay if you're 28 and just getting started. Fair enough. That's a decent head start at that age. But here's the problem. That number includes everybody. People in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even people who are supposed to be done saving. This isn't a starting line. For most of the country, this is the finish line. And it's barely enough to buy a new truck. But okay, let's be fair. Maybe the older crowd is pulling it together, right? The people who've had 30, 35 years to stack it up, the ones standing right at the door of retirement, late 50s, early 60s, surely they've got way more tucked away. The median for that group? $185,000. That's it. An entire career, decades of grinding, commuting, dragging yourself through Monday mornings, and $185,000 is what stands between them and the rest of their life. Let's make that real. Take $185,000, apply the 4% withdrawal guideline, which is basically how much you can pull out each year without running dry too fast, and you get roughly $7,400 a year. That's about $617 a month. 600 bucks a month from your life savings. That doesn't cover rent in most cities. That's a car payment and a grocery run. Maybe. Now picture this. You're 25, full of energy. Just landed your first real job. Someone taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, just so you know, after 35 years of busting your ass, you're going to have enough saved to last you about 4 years. 5 if you eat ramen." You'd laugh in their face. No chance. Not me. But for most people, that's exactly how it plays out. Not because they're stupid, not because they didn't try, but because life has this nasty habit of swallowing your paycheck before you even think about saving. The car breaks down, the kid needs braces, the rent goes up. And every single month, "I'll start investing next month" sounds perfectly reasonable. Until you're 58 and next month ran out a long time ago. Because here's the cruel part. Compounding, the one force that actually builds serious wealth, needs time. That's the only ingredient you can't buy, borrow, or hack. And at 58, 59, 60, time is the one thing you're completely out of. So what happens? The options get ugly fast. Work longer than you planned, push retirement to 67, 68, 70, lean hard on Social Security, which was never designed to be your whole income, or downsize everything. Sell the house, move somewhere cheaper, strip the budget down to the bone, and hope nothing unexpected hits. None of those are conversations anyone wants to have with themselves at 60. And look, I'm not saying this to make you anxious. That's not the point. The point is this. Most people sleepwalk through their working years assuming they're roughly on track because nobody around them is talking about the real numbers. Your coworkers aren't flashing their 401k balance at lunch. Your neighbors aren't posting their net worth. So you just assume everyone's in the same boat. They're not. And you might be further behind than you think, or, and this is the part that actually matters, you might be doing way better than you realize and just don't know it yet. Either way, you need the real picture because you can't fix what you can't see. Now, here's where most people get tripped up. Because if you just look around, it feels like becoming a millionaire should be easier than ever. Stocks keep climbing, home prices keep pumping, salaries are going up. Everything screams more wealth, right? Yeah, not exactly. And that little lie is the trap almost everyone walks straight into. So here's the thing everyone gets wrong. They look around and think, man, $1 million should be easy by now. And honestly, on the surface, that makes total sense. The stock market has been on a tear. The S&P 500 has basically tripled in the last decade. Home prices, through the roof. The average house in America costs way more than it did 10 or 15 years ago. Salaries are climbing too. Everything is going up. So naturally, you'd think more people should be crossing that $1 million line, right? Here's the problem. Everything you spend money on went up too. And for most people, it went up faster. Think about it like this. Say you're a family pulling in $75,000 back in 2010. Decent income. You could save a little, invest a little, cover your bills, maybe you take a vacation once a year. Life wasn't luxurious, but it worked. Fast forward to today. That same family is making $95,000 on paper. They got a $20,000 raise over 15 years. Sounds like progress, right? But rent went up $600 a month. Health insurance jumped. Groceries cost 30, 40% more. Gas isn't what it used to be. Daycare alone can eat an entire paycheck in some cities. So that $20,000 raise, it didn't go into a brokerage account. It got absorbed, swallowed whole by the cost of just existing. And that's the illusion. The numbers on your paycheck look bigger, so you feel richer. But your actual ability to save, the gap between what comes in and what goes out, that gap either stayed the same or got smaller. You're running faster just to stay in the same spot. It's like being on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. Your legs are moving quicker, you're sweating harder, but you look down and you haven't gone anywhere. And here's what makes this even trickier. Because prices are rising, $1 million genuinely doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Your parents' million and your million are not the same million. $1 million in 1990 had the purchasing power of roughly $2.4 million today. So when someone says $1 million isn't what it used to be, they're technically right. But, and this is the part people miss, That doesn't mean it's easy to get there. It's the worst of both worlds. A million buys you less than before, and it's harder to save your way to one. The target got less impressive and more difficult to hit at the exact same time. That's the paradox nobody talks about. It's simultaneously easier to become a millionaire on paper because asset prices are inflated, and harder to actually build a million in real savings because the cost of life keeps chewing through your income before you can invest it. So when you hear someone online say, $1 million isn't even that much anymore, understand what they're really telling you. They're telling you they've never actually tried to save one, because anyone who has knows exactly how hard it is. Every single month, there's a reason not to invest. A bill, an emergency, a thing you need, and fighting that current for 20, 30 years straight, that takes something most people underestimate. But the people who do it, the 3%, they figured something out. Not a trick, not a loophole. Something about how money actually grows that most people either don't understand or give up on way too early. And that's what we need to talk about next. Because there's a moment in the wealth building process where everything quietly flips, and most people quit right before it happens. All right, so let's talk about the thing that actually builds millionaires. And I'm warning you right now, it's going to sound boring. That's the point. That's literally the whole point. Let me tell you about two buddies. We'll call them Jake and Tyler. Grew up together, same high school, got similar jobs out of college, making about the same money, damn near identical starting points. Jake starts investing at 22. Nothing crazy, $400 a month into a simple index fund. Doesn't try to pick stocks, doesn't watch financial news every morning looking for the next hot tip, just sets up an automatic transfer and moves on with his life. $400 every month, rain or shine. Tyler? Tyler's going to get to it. He knows he should invest. He's read the articles, he's bookmarked the videos, but at 22, he's got student loans breathing down his neck. At 25, he just signed a lease on a nicer apartment. At 27, he needs a car. At 29, there's a wedding to pay for. At 30, he finally pulls the trigger. Same plan, $400 a month, same index fund, same strategy. Identical approach. Tyler just started 8 years later. That's it, 8 years. Fast forward. Both guys are 60. Both invested $400 a month. Both got roughly 10% average annual returns. Tyler put money in for 30 straight years. That's not nothing. Jake did it for 38. Jake's portfolio, roughly $1.9 million. Tyler's, about $870,000. Let that land. Same contribution, same returns, same fund. Tyler invested for 3 decades and still ended up with less than half of what Jake has. Over $1 million apart. Not because Tyler did anything wrong, not because he picked bad investments or got unlucky. He just started 8 years late. 8 years of I'll get to it. That's compounding. That's the invisible curve. And the reason it catches people off guard is because it spends years pretending it doesn't exist. When Jake's portfolio was sitting at $30,000, a solid year in the market added maybe $3,000, $3,000. He's contributing almost $5,000 a year out of his own pocket. And the market's kicking in $3,000. Doesn't feel like much. Feels like filling a swimming pool with a garden hose. At $100,000, a 10% year adds $10,000. Okay, that's something. But it's still not the kind of number that makes you feel like you're winning. You check your balance, nod, close the app, and go back to work. But here's where things start to quietly change. At $500,000, that same 10% year drops $50,000 into the account. $50,000, Jake didn't do a single thing different. Didn't put in one extra dollar. His money just silently earned more in 12 months than a lot of people take home from their job. And at $1 million, a 10% return adds $100,000. In 1 year, his portfolio is now generating more new wealth annually than most American households earn total. The snowball isn't just rolling. It's devouring everything in its path. That's the flip. That's the moment I teased earlier. Your money stops being a savings account and starts being an engine. It works nights, it works weekends, it doesn't call in sick, it doesn't take vacations, and the bigger it gets, the harder it works for you. But here's the cruel part, and this is exactly why only 3% of people ever get here. The flip doesn't happen in year 1 or year 5. Or year 10. For most of the journey, compounding is completely invisible. You're putting money in month after month, and your balance crawls upward at this painfully slow, maddeningly boring pace. Nothing about it feels exciting. Nothing about it makes a good story. Nobody's high-fiving you for having $47,000 in your Roth IRA. And during those years, the long, quiet, boring middle, every single part of your life is screaming at you to quit. Your buddy just rolled up in a brand new car. Your coworkers posting beach pics from Bali. Your feed is full of people living their best life while you're sitting there watching your 401k go up $200 in a month. $200. That's your reward for being disciplined. Congrats. The temptation isn't loud. It's a whisper. Just skip 1 month. Just pull a little out. Just live a little. You deserve it. You'll catch up later. But you won't, because compounding doesn't do second chances. Every dollar you pull out doesn't just lose its face value, it loses every dollar that dollar would have created over the next 20, 30 years. You're not spending $1,000, you're spending $15,000 that doesn't exist yet. You just can't see it. The early years lay the bricks. The middle years test whether you actually mean it. And the later years, the ones most people never reach because they quit somewhere in the middle, that's where the curve finally bends. That's where the math starts to feel like magic. That's where everything you gave up starts paying you back with interest. But it only works if you survive the boring part. So if compounding is this powerful, if the math is this obvious and the path is this simple, why do 97 out of 100 people still end up with almost nothing by the time they retire? The answer is simpler than you'd expect. And it has absolutely nothing to do with money. It's behavior. That's it. That's the whole answer. Not income, not intelligence, not some secret investment strategy the wealthy are gatekeeping. It's behavior. The boring, unsexy, nobody wants to hear a truth. What separates the 3% from everyone else is how they act around money. Consistently for decades. And I know that's not what you wanted to hear. You wanted a hack, a shortcut. Some magic ticker symbol or side hustle that fast tracks you to 7 figures. Everyone does. But the people who actually retire with $1 million didn't find a shortcut. They just refused to stop walking. Remember Dave and Mike? Same street, same paychecks, 2 completely different endings? Here's what actually happened between them. Dave wasn't smarter than Mike, didn't have a better job, a higher IQ, or some financial wizard whispering in his ear. He just made different choices, small ones, quiet ones, the kind that don't show up on anyone's radar. Dave drove the same car for 11 years. Mike leased a new one every 3. Dave packed lunch most days, not every day, he's not a robot, but most days, Mike ate out because it's only $15. $15 a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. That's $3,750 gone every year. For decades. Dave set up automatic contributions to his 401k the first week of his first real job. Never touched the percentage. Not when things got tight. Not when his roof needed fixing. Not when his wife wanted to redo the kitchen. He found other ways to make it work, but the 401k contribution, that was sacred. That was the one line he never crossed. Mike kept saying he'd bump his up next quarter. Dave didn't post about it. Didn't flex. Didn't bring up investing at barbecues. He just did it. Month after month after month. Through recessions, through crashes, through the 2008 meltdown when his portfolio dropped 40% and every single headline screamed that the financial system was collapsing. He didn't sell. He didn't panic. He bought more. Mike saw that same crash and pulled everything out, moved it all to cash, just until things calmed down. Things calmed down about 14 months later. The market ripped back up without Mike in it. By the time he worked up the nerve to get back in, he'd missed the recovery. That single decision, made from fear, not logic, cost him over $200,000 in growth he will never get back. Ever. And that's the thing about behavior. It's never one dramatic moment. It's not a single fork in the road where you go left or right. It's hundreds of tiny, invisible choices stacked on top of each other across 30 years. Most of them so small that you don't even register them as financial decisions. It's choosing the used Honda over the new BMW. It's investing the raise instead of upgrading the apartment. It's sitting at your kitchen table on a Saturday night, scrolling through your friends' vacation photos, feeling that pull in your chest, that ache of why not me, and saying quietly to yourself, not yet. My turn is coming. That right there is the hardest thing in personal finance. Not understanding compound interest, not picking the right fund. It's sitting with the discomfort of watching everyone around you live louder while you build in silence and doing it anyway, not for a month, not for a year, for decades. That's what $1 million actually costs. Not in money, in patience. In saying no 1,000 times when everything inside you is begging to say yes. In trusting a process that won't reward you for years and years and years, and knowing that if you flinch, you lose. Now, let's talk about what all that patience actually buys you, because this is the part that makes it all worth it, and nobody ever focuses on it. $1 million portfolio using the 4% guideline throws off roughly $40,000 a year in retirement income. On its own, solid, but not extravagant. Add Social Security, averaging about $24,000 per person annually, and a single retiree is pulling in $64,000 a year. A couple, easily pushing $88,000. Now, here's where the math gets beautiful. If your mortgage is paid off, which it should be by retirement if you played the long game right, your single biggest expense just vanished. No rent, no mortgage. That $64,000 suddenly goes further than most people's $90,000 does when they're still working and bleeding money into housing every month. The average retired household spends about $60,000 a year. That means $1 million plus Social Security doesn't just scrape by. It gives you margin, breathing room, the kind where a surprise car repair, an unexpected medical bill, a last-minute flight to see your grandkids, none of that ruins your week. You handle it, you move on. No one to call. No favors to ask. No lying awake at 2 a.m. running numbers on the ceiling. This isn't mansion money. It's not yacht money. It's something better than both. It's, I never have to ask permission to live my life money. It's, I wake up on a Tuesday and decide what today looks like money. It's freedom, real quiet, nobody needs to know about it freedom. And that's what Dave has. That's what Mike doesn't. So let's go back to where we started. Two guys, same block, same jobs, same paychecks for 30 years. One's sitting on his porch right now with a cup of coffee, deciding whether today's a fishing day or a do absolutely nothing day. Both sound great. Both are free. The other one's lacing up his shoes at 6 a.m., putting on a name tag, and clocking in for a shift he never once imagined he'd be working at 68. Same neighborhood, same opportunity. Two completely different endings. And the difference wasn't talent, wasn't luck, wasn't some golden break that one got and the other missed. It was hundreds of small, quiet, invisible choices made over and over and over again for 3 decades. Choices nobody saw, choices nobody celebrated, choices that felt in the moment like they didn't even matter. But they mattered more than anything. That's what $1 million really is when you strip it down. It's not a number on a screen. It's not a flex for the internet. It's a receipt. Proof that someone showed up, kept their head down, and flat out refused to quit. When it got boring, when it got painful, when the entire world was practically begging them to spend instead of save. Only 3 out of 100 people pull that off. 3. Not because the math is hard. A kid with a calculator can understand compound interest, not because the strategy is locked behind some paywall. Index funds have been around for decades, and every piece of information you need is sitting on the internet for free. The reason 97 people fail isn't a knowledge problem. It's a patience problem. Discipline stretched across 30 years is one of the hardest things a human being can do. It's not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's waking up every single morning and choosing the harder path when the easy one is right there, wide open, warm, calling your name by your first name. Now look, maybe you're watching this and you're 22, fresh out of school. All of this feels impossibly far away. Good. That distance is your biggest advantage. You have the one thing money can't buy, time. So don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Start ugly. Start confused. Start with whatever you can. 50 bucks, 100 bucks, 400 bucks. Just start. Because Jake didn't begin with a financial advisor and a color-coded spreadsheet. He began with an automatic transfer and the decision to leave it alone. The curve handles the rest, but only if you give it something to work with. Or maybe you're 35, maybe 40, maybe 45, and a voice in your head is whispering that you waited too long. You didn't. Is it later than ideal? Yeah, but too late is just a story people tell themselves so they can feel okay about doing nothing. Every dollar you invest today is still worth more than every dollar you'll waste pretending retirement isn't coming. The curve is shorter, sure, but it still bends. And a shorter curve that exists beats a perfect one that never started. And maybe, just maybe, you're already further along than you realize. Maybe you've been quietly making the right calls for years, and nobody ever said a word about it. Nobody noticed you driving that paid-off car while your coworkers leased new ones. Nobody patted you on the back for maxing out your Roth instead of upgrading your apartment. Nobody told you that skipping the vacation to keep investing was the right move. So let me be the one to say it. You're doing it right. Keep going. The boring middle doesn't last forever. The curve bends, and when it does, every single no you ever said is going to pay you back in ways you can't even picture yet. You don't need to be special to retire with $1 million. You don't need to be brilliant. You don't need to be lucky. You don't need to come from the right zip code or the right family. You just need to be stubborn enough to keep going when it feels like nothing is happening, because that's exactly when everything is. I'm Dan. This is what I do here. Break down the real numbers, cut through the noise, and give you what nobody else will, the truth about how money actually works. No hype, no guru act, just straight talk. If this changed how you think about even $1, hit subscribe, not for me, for the version of you that's building something right now in the boring middle. That version needs reminders like this. Drop a like so this reaches someone who's about to make Mike's mistakes and doesn't even know it yet. See you in the next one.